My daughter's car trunk was half open when I saw the papers. My name is Carol Manning. I'm 61 years old, and I just found my own nursing home admission forms, signed, dated, deposit paid $12,300, hidden in a manila folder under Vanessa's beach towels. My signature at the bottom of every page. Except I never signed them. Sunrise Valley Memory Care. Admission date: July 1st, 2024. 6 weeks away. Memory care. The locked ward for people with dementia. For people who can't remember their own names, who wander away, who need 24-hour supervision. That's where my daughter was planning to put me while pretending we were planning a family vacation to celebrate my birthday. I stood in Vanessa's driveway, holding those forms with hands that weren't shaking yet, reading words that made my stomach turn. Patient exhibits significant cognitive decline. Unable to manage daily activities independently. Requires secure environment for safety. Doctor's signature at the bottom. Dr. Wesley Morris. My doctor. Except I'd never discussed nursing homes with Dr. Morris. Never asked for a recommendation. Never signed a release for this evaluation. The deposit receipt was paper-clipped to the admission forms. $12,300 paid in full the 30th of April 2024. 2 weeks ago. Non-refundable. Vanessa had already committed my future, already paid for my imprisonment, already forged my signature on documents that would steal my freedom. I pulled out my phone. The one Vanessa said was too complicated for me to use properly. The one she'd suggested I replace with something simpler, something with bigger buttons, something for seniors who couldn't handle modern technology. I took photos of every page, 13 pages total. Every forged signature, every false claim, every piece of evidence that my daughter was planning to lock me away. Then I put the papers back exactly where I'd found them, closed the trunk carefully, and walked back into her house like nothing had happened. Vanessa was in the kitchen making lunch for Jasmine, my 6-year-old granddaughter. "Mom, did you find your sunglasses?" "They were in the car," I said, holding up the sunglasses I'd actually had in my purse the whole time. "Right where you said they'd be." She smiled at me, that patient smile I'd been seeing for months. The smile that said she was handling a confused old woman with grace. "See? You just have to remember to look carefully." I'd gone to the car, looking for sunglasses I didn't need, giving myself a reason to search. Vanessa had been careless, left her trunk partially open, left evidence visible. Or maybe she thought I was too far gone to notice, too confused to understand what I was seeing. That's what 3 months of gaslighting does. It makes you doubt yourself. Makes you wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you are forgetting things. Maybe you are confused. Maybe you do need help. But I wasn't confused about what I'd just seen. Forged signatures, false medical reports, paid deposits for involuntary commitment. That's not concern. That's fraud. That's elder abuse. That's my own daughter planning to steal my life. I sat at Vanessa's kitchen table eating the sandwich she'd made, watching her cut Jasmine's sandwich into triangles the way I'd taught her when she was young. Watched her wipe the counter, check her phone, plan the afternoon. Normal daughter behavior, loving mother behavior, while in her car trunk sat papers that would destroy me. "Mom, you seem distracted," Vanessa said, sitting down across from me. "Are you feeling okay?" "Just tired. Didn't sleep well last night." Another concerned look. "You've been saying that a lot lately. Having trouble sleeping?" "Sometimes. Maybe we should talk to Dr. Morris about it. Could be related to the other issues." The other issues. That's what she called my mild cognitive impairment. The diagnosis I'd received in January. MCI. Not dementia. Not Alzheimer's. Just age-related memory changes that might progress or might not. Doctor said 25 to 30% chance of developing Alzheimer's in the next 5 years. Might, maybe, not certain. But to Vanessa, that diagnosis was an opportunity, a way to take control, a way to access my house, my savings, my pension, a way to solve her own financial problems by eliminating mine. I'm fine, Vanessa. Just need to rest more. That's what worries me. You're 61, Mom. You should have energy. You should be enjoying retirement. Instead, you're tired all the time, forgetting things, getting confused. She said it so naturally, like it was established fact. Like everyone agreed I was declining, like there was no question. I'm managing just fine. Are you? She leaned forward, voice gentle. Because Terrence and I have been worried. Last week you forgot about Jasmine's school play. 2 weeks ago you couldn't remember where you'd parked at the grocery store. Last month you asked me the same question 3 times in one conversation. The school play. I'd gotten the time wrong, showed up an hour early. Not forgot, just mixed up the schedule. The parking. I'd parked in the overflow lot because the main lot was full, not lost my car, just parked somewhere different. The repeated question. I'd asked once, she hadn't answered clearly. I asked again. Not dementia, just normal conversation. But she'd documented everything, built a case, created a narrative of decline that existed only in her interpretation of normal moments. Everyone forgets things sometimes, Vanessa. Not like this, Mom. Not this often. We love you. We want to help. That's why we've been looking at options. Options. Like memory care facilities, like locked wings, like stealing my freedom and calling it love. I finished my sandwich, kissed Jasmine goodbye, thanked Vanessa for lunch, and drove home. My house. The house David and I bought in 1987 for $92,000. The house where we raised Vanessa and Terrence. The house worth $505,000 now. The house Vanessa was planning to access once I was locked away in Sunrise Valley. I parked in my driveway, walked into my living room, sat in David's old chair. The chair he'd sat in every evening after his postal route. The chair I'd kept exactly as he left it 2 years ago when his heart gave out at 63. Too young, too sudden, too final. David, I whispered to the empty room. Our daughter is trying to lock me away, and I need to figure out how to stop her. The chair didn't answer, but I knew what David would say. He'd say document everything. He'd say protect yourself. He'd say our daughter might be family, but fraud is fraud. I pulled out my phone and looked at the photos I'd taken. 13 pages of evidence, forged signatures, false medical claims, paid deposits, everything I needed to prove Vanessa wasn't concerned. She was criminal. Then I did what any 61-year-old woman with mild cognitive impairment would do. I called a lawyer, because being old doesn't mean being helpless. And forgetting where you parked doesn't mean you can't fight back when someone tries to steal your life. Vanessa had made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. Thought the flip phone and occasional forgetfulness meant I was vulnerable. Thought MCI meant incompetent. Thought grief over David meant weak. She was about to learn that confused and defeated are 2 different things, and I was only one of those. I need to tell you about David, because understanding him explains why Vanessa's betrayal cut so deep. David Manning and I met in 1982 at a church picnic in southwest Atlanta. I was 19, working part-time at the post office while taking classes at Atlanta Metropolitan College. He was 21, already a full-time mail carrier, walking his route in all weather, building the career that would sustain us for 35 years. We got married in 1984. Small ceremony, 40 people, reception in my mother's backyard. We couldn't afford anything fancy. David was 23. I was 21, and we were just starting out. Vanessa was born in 1986. Terrence came in 1989. We raised them in the house we bought in 1987, a 3-bedroom ranch in a quiet Atlanta suburb, $92,000 with a 30-year mortgage we paid off in 2017. David was the kind of man who showed up. Every day, every shift, every moment that mattered. He delivered mail in summer heat that hit 95 degrees, in winter rain that soaked through his uniform, in ice storms that made the roads dangerous. He never called in sick, never complained, just did his job with quiet dignity for 35 years. I worked my way up from clerk to supervisor at the main postal facility downtown. We weren't rich, but we were stable, saved for retirement, put both kids through college without loans, lived below our means. That's what my parents taught me. That's what David and I taught our children. Or thought we taught them. The 14th of March 2022, Tuesday morning. David left for his route at 6:45 a.m., like always, kissed me goodbye, said he'd pick up groceries after work. At 11:30 a.m., his supervisor called. David had collapsed on his route. Massive heart attack. EMTs tried for 40 minutes. He was 63 years old, gone before I could get to the hospital, before I could say goodbye, before I could tell him one more time that he was the best man I'd ever known. The funeral was on March 19th. Vanessa flew in from her real estate office, took 3 days off, handled arrangements efficiently. Terrence came with his wife Lisa, stayed a week, made sure I was eating. Both of them seemed devastated. Both of them seemed to care. David's life insurance paid out $180,000 in April 2022. Combined with our retirement savings of $180,000 and the house worth about $505,000, I had total assets around $865,000. More than enough to live on comfortably. My postal pension was $2,850 a month. Social Security would start at $62. I was financially secure. That's when the loan requests started. Vanessa called in May 2022, 2 months after her father's death. "Mom, I have an opportunity. Investment property in Buckhead, 4-unit building. I need $40,000 for the down payment. Can you help?" She was my daughter. She'd just lost her father. She was trying to build her real estate business. I said yes. July 2022, another call. "Mom, the property needs more work than I thought. Electrical, plumbing. I need another $35,000. I'll pay you back when I sell it." I hesitated. $75,000 was a lot. But she was grieving, building a business, trying to provide for Jasmine after her divorce. I said yes. October 2022. "Mom, the market's shifting. I need to hold the property longer than expected. Can you float me $25,000 for the mortgage while I wait for the right buyer?" I was starting to worry. But I said yes. January 2023. "Just $15,000 more, Mom. I promise this is the last time." It wasn't. By December 2023, I'd loaned Vanessa $115,000, not one payment back. Every time I asked about repayment, she'd say the market was tough. She was waiting for the right opportunity, the property would sell soon, and she'd pay everything back with interest. The property sold in February 2024. She'd paid $280,000, put in $55,000 in repairs, sold for $295,000. Lost $40,000 after realtor fees and closing costs. My $115,000 was gone, vanished into her failed investment. When I asked about repayment, she said, "Mom, I lost money too. We're both victims of the market downturn. You can't expect me to repay loans when I'm struggling financially." Terrence's situation was different. He'd borrowed $55,000 in 2021 before David died. Wedding expenses and house down payment. He'd asked David and me together, presented a repayment plan, promised $750 a month for 6 years. David had agreed. We'd signed a promissory note. When David died, Terrence kept paying. $750 every month for 18 months. Never missed a payment, never made excuses. Just quietly honored the agreement he'd made with his father. That's the difference between my children. Terrence borrowed and repaid. Vanessa borrowed and disappeared. By January 2024, my financial situation had changed. I'd loaned out $170,000 total. Terrence was paying back slowly, but Vanessa's $115,000 was gone. My savings had dropped from $360,000 to $190,000. Still comfortable, but tighter than before. Then came the diagnosis. The 18th of January 2024. Annual checkup with Dr. Morris. I mentioned I'd been forgetting things lately. Where I put my keys. What I'd planned to buy at the store. Names of people I'd known for years. Normal aging stuff, I thought. Dr. Morris ran tests. Cognitive assessments. Memory evaluations. Blood work to rule out thyroid issues. And vitamin deficiencies. Everything came back normal except the memory tests. Mild cognitive impairment. MCI. Not dementia. Not Alzheimer's. Just age-related changes that might progress. Or might not. Mrs. Manning, MCI is common in people over 60, Dr. Morris explained. About 25 to 30% progress to Alzheimer's within 5 years, but 70 to 75% don't. You might stay exactly like this for decades, or improve with cognitive exercises and healthy lifestyle. I told Vanessa about the diagnosis because she was my daughter, because I thought she'd care, because I was scared and needed support. Her response, "Mom, we need to make plans. What if this gets worse? We should talk about power of attorney, about long-term care options, about protecting your assets, protecting my assets." Those were her words. Not protecting me. Not supporting me. Protecting assets. That's when the gaslighting started. February 2024. Subtle at first. Comments about my memory. Observations about my confusion. Suggestions that I was declining faster than I realized. "Mom, you forgot Jasmine's birthday party was at 2 p.m., not 3 p.m. I'd gotten the time wrong, not forgotten the party. There's a difference. Mom, you couldn't find your car at Kroger. You wandered around the parking lot for 20 minutes. I'd parked in the overflow lot because the main lot was full. I wasn't wandering. I was walking to where I'd parked. Mom, you asked me 3 times if I was coming to dinner Sunday. I'd asked once. She hadn't answered clearly. I asked again for confirmation. Normal conversation, not dementia. But every incident got documented. Every normal moment became evidence. Every forgetful action became proof of decline. By March, Vanessa was talking to Terrence about me. I overheard a phone call when she thought I was in the bathroom. "She's getting worse. We need to do something before she hurts herself or loses all her money." Loses all her money, not hurts herself first, loses money. April, she started researching memory care facilities. I know because she left brochures on my kitchen counter. Just looking at options, Mom, planning ahead, being responsible. May 15th, I found the admission papers in her trunk, signed, dated, deposit paid. My future decided without my input. My freedom scheduled to end July 1st. Vanessa hadn't been worried about me. She'd been worried about accessing my assets before I spent them or gave them to someone else. The MCI diagnosis was an opportunity. The failed real estate investment was a financial crisis. My house worth $505,000 and my remaining savings of $190,000 were the solution. Lock me in memory care, claim incompetence, liquidate assets, solve her problems with my money. That was the plan. And if I'd been even slightly more confused, if I'd trusted her completely, if I hadn't seen those papers, it would have worked. But I saw them, and now I had a choice: confront her directly and risk her accelerating the timeline, or document everything, build my own case, and fight back legally. I chose the second option, because I learned something from David. Quiet competence beats loud confrontation. And the best way to catch someone who underestimates you is to let them keep underestimating you until it's too late. The day after I found the nursing home papers, I called Patricia Chen. She'd handled David's estate when he died, helped me navigate the paperwork, the life insurance claims, the pension transfers. She was 52, sharp, no nonsense in a way I appreciated. Elder law was her specialty. "Carol, what can I do for you?" Her voice was warm on the phone. "I need to come see you. It's urgent. About my daughter." 2 hours later, I sat in her office in Decatur, manila folder on my lap containing printed copies of the photos I'd taken. Patricia reviewed every page. Her expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened. "Your daughter forged your signature on nursing home admission forms." "Yes. Paida 12 300 non-refundable deposit." "Yes. Forged a doctor's recommendation, claiming you're incompetent." "That's what it looks like." Patricia set the papers down carefully. "Carol, this is elder abuse. Financial exploitation. Fraud. Multiple felonies. She's my daughter. She's a criminal. The fact that she's your daughter makes it worse, not better." Patricia leaned forward. "Do you want to press charges, or do you want to protect your assets?" "What's the difference?" "Pressing charges means police, prosecutors, potential jail time for Vanessa. Protecting assets means we set up legal structures that prevent her from ever accessing your money, but she doesn't face criminal consequences unless she tries to fight us." I thought about Jasmine, my 6-year-old granddaughter, about what it would do to that little girl to see her mother arrested. I want to protect my assets. I don't want her in jail. I just want her away from my money. Then we need to move fast. She's planning to admit you July 1st. That's 6 weeks away. We need to establish your competency, create a revocable living trust, designate new beneficiaries, and document everything before she makes her move. How much will this cost? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Full elder law protection package, including competency evaluation, trust creation, document preparation, and legal defense if Vanessa challenges us, probably $40,000 to $45,000. My stomach dropped. That was a huge chunk of my remaining savings. But what choice did I have? What if I do nothing? Vanessa admits you July 1st using forged documents. By the time you challenge it from inside a locked memory care facility, she's had weeks to file for emergency power of attorney. Once she has that, she liquidates your assets. Your house, your savings, everything. You'd eventually win in court, but you'd lose months of your life locked up and tens of thousands in legal fees trying to undo what she did. Better to prevent it than fight it after the fact. I looked at the papers spread across Patricia's desk. My forged signature on page after page. Evidence of my own daughter's plan to imprison me. Do it. Whatever it costs. I'm not letting her lock me away. Patricia nodded. First step is competency evaluation. Independent neuropsychologist, full cognitive assessment, establishes you're legally competent to manage your own affairs. That undermines Vanessa's entire case. When? I'll make calls today. We'll get you in this week. 3 days later, the 18th of May 2024, I sat in Dr. Sarah Patel's office for 4 hours of testing. Memory assessments, problem-solving exercises, comprehension tests, executive function evaluations, everything designed to measure cognitive ability. Dr. Patel was thorough. "Mrs. Manning, I see from your medical records you were diagnosed with MCI in January. Tell me about that." Dr. Morris said I have mild cognitive impairment. Some memory issues. Might progress to Alzheimer's, might not. How does it affect your daily life? Sometimes I forget where I put things. Sometimes I mix up appointments. But I manage my finances, drive safely, live independently, make my own decisions. That's consistent with MCI. You have some memory deficits, but your judgment, reasoning, and decision-making capacity are intact. She reviewed my test results. Your scores are within normal range for your age and education level. Some areas slightly below average, consistent with MCI. But nothing suggesting dementia or incompetence. So, I'm legally competent? Absolutely. You have full capacity to manage your affairs, make medical decisions, and handle financial matters. MCI doesn't equal incompetence. It just means you need strategies to compensate for memory changes, lists, reminders, calendars. You're already doing those things. The relief hit me like a wave. I wasn't incompetent. Wasn't declining into dementia. Just aging, with normal age-related changes that Vanessa had exploited to build a false narrative. Dr. Patel's written evaluation was clear. Carol Manning, age 61, demonstrates full legal competency. Mild cognitive impairment noted, but does not significantly impair daily functioning or decision-making capacity. Patient is capable of independent living and financial management. No basis for guardianship or involuntary commitment. Patricia filed that evaluation with the court immediately, created a paper trail establishing my competence, dated the 18th of May, 2024, 6 weeks before Vanessa's planned July 1st admission date. Now, Patricia said, we create the trust. Put your house, your savings, everything into a revocable living trust with you as trustee. That means you still control everything, but it's legally protected from anyone trying to claim you're incompetent. Even if Vanessa somehow gets a doctor to say you need guardianship, she can't touch assets in the trust. What about my kid's inheritance? Patricia looked at me carefully. That's your decision. But Carol, Vanessa tried to imprison you to steal your money. Do you really want her inheriting anything? I thought about Terrence, faithfully paying $750 a month. Thought about Vanessa, who'd taken $115,000 and paid back nothing. Thought about the forged signatures in her trunk. Terrence gets his share. Vanessa gets nothing. Legally, we can't completely disinherit her without cause, but we can reduce her share to the legal minimum. In Georgia, that's $1. $1? $1. It shows intent, proves we didn't forget her. We deliberately chose to leave her almost nothing. I signed the papers. Revocable living trust, Carol Manning as trustee, assets protected, Terrence designated as successor trustee if I became incapacitated, Vanessa receiving $1 upon my death. The legal machinery was in motion, but I still had to make it to July 1st without Vanessa realizing I knew. Had to pretend everything was normal. Had to let her think her plan was working while I built walls she'd never break through. The hardest part wasn't protecting my assets, it was pretending I didn't know. For 6 weeks between May 15th and July 1st, I had to act like nothing had changed. Had to let Vanessa continue her gaslighting campaign while I documented everything. Had to watch my daughter plan my imprisonment while smiling at family dinners. May 22nd. Sunday dinner at my house. Vanessa brought Jasmine. Terrence came with Lisa. Normal family gathering. Except I was watching Vanessa with new eyes, seeing every manipulation I'd missed before. Mom, did you remember to take your blood pressure medication this morning? Vanessa asked while setting the table. I did. Are you sure? Because last week you forgot and took a double dose in the evening. I hadn't forgotten last week. I'd taken my morning dose. She'd asked about it later. I told her I'd already taken it. She'd written it down as confusion. I took it this morning, Vanessa. I have a pill organizer. I can see which days are empty. Right, but sometimes you forget to refill the organizer. She smiled at Terrence and Lisa. We're working on systems to help Mom stay on track. Systems to help me. Like I was a child who needed supervision. Terrence looked uncomfortable. Mom seems like she's managing fine. She seems fine because we're helping, Vanessa said. You don't see the day-to-day struggles. The forgotten appointments, the repeated questions, the confusion. I bit my tongue, didn't argue, just served dinner and watched Vanessa build her narrative for an audience. June 3rd. Vanessa called, asked me to come to her house to discuss something important. When I arrived, she had papers spread across her dining room table, power of attorney documents. "Mom, we need to formalize some things. Make sure someone can handle your affairs if you become unable to. I'm handling my affairs fine. For now. But what if the MCI gets worse? What if you have a stroke, like Aunt Helen? We need legal protections in place." She slid the power of attorney papers across the table. Durable power of attorney, effective immediately, giving Vanessa complete control over my finances, my medical decisions, my life. "I need to think about this." "Mom, there's nothing to think about. It's just paperwork. Protection for both of us." I said I need to think about it. I left the papers on her table and went home. That evening, she called 3 times. Left voicemails about how power of attorney was responsible planning, how refusing to sign showed poor judgment, how my resistance was concerning. I texted Patricia. "She's pushing power of attorney documents. Getting aggressive." Patricia replied immediately, "Don't sign anything. We're almost there. 2 more weeks." June 10th. Vanessa showed up at my house unannounced. "Mom, we need to talk about your living situation." "What about it?" "This house is too much for you. 3 bedrooms, yard maintenance, stairs to the basement. You're 61 and dealing with memory issues. What if you fall? What if you forget to turn off the stove?" "I haven't fallen. I haven't left the stove on." "Not yet. But Mom, MCI progresses. Dr. Morris said you have a 30% chance of Alzheimer's. We need to plan ahead." "Plan what?" She pulled out brochures. Retirement communities, assisted living facilities, memory care wings, all the same sales pitch. Safe environments, supportive staff, no maintenance worries. I'm not moving into assisted living. I'm 61 years old and perfectly capable of living in my own house. That's what concerns me. You can't see your own decline. That's a symptom, Mom. Lack of insight. Lack of insight. Medical term weaponized against me. Every disagreement became evidence. Every boundary became proof of incompetence. "Vanessa, I'm not discussing this today." "Fine, but we're discussing it soon. Because July is coming up fast, and decisions need to be made." July. She'd almost said it. Almost admitted she had a timeline. Caught herself just in time. After she left, I added the conversation to my documentation file. Notes on everything she'd said, how she'd pushed, how she'd mentioned July. Patricia said documentation mattered. Every interaction recorded, every manipulation noted, every piece of evidence that this wasn't concern, it was coercion. June 18th. 2 weeks before the planned admission date, Vanessa invited me to lunch at a nice restaurant in Buckhead. Expensive place, $40 entrees. She was buttering me up for something. Over salmon and asparagus, she finally got to it. "Mom, I found a wonderful community, beautiful facility, great staff, right near Terrence, so he can visit easily. I'm not interested in communities. Just look at the brochure." She pulled it out. Sunrise Valley. The same facility from the papers in her trunk. They have independent living, assisted living, and memory care all on one campus. You could start in independent living, transition as needed. "Vanessa, I own my house. I'm not selling it to move into a facility." "What if you didn't have to sell it? What if I managed the house, rented it out, used the income to cover your facility costs?" There it was. She wanted the house, wanted to control it, profit from it, eventually inherit it after I was safely locked away. "My house isn't for rent." Her expression shifted. Frustration breaking through the concerned daughter facade. "Mom, you're being unreasonable. I'm trying to help you and you're fighting me at every turn." "I don't need help. Yes, you do. And the fact that you can't see it proves you need it even more. Circular logic. Refuse help? That's proof you need help. Accept help? That's admission you need help. No way to win an argument designed to prove incompetence regardless of response. I finished my salmon in silence. Let Vanessa talk about how worried she was, how scared for my safety, how much she loved me. Words that meant nothing when I knew what she'd already paid $12,300 to make happen. June 28th, 3 days before July 1st. Final Sunday dinner at my house before the planned admission. Vanessa was relaxed, confident. She thought she'd won. Thought I'd shown enough confusion, enough resistance, enough concerning behavior to justify what was coming. Mom, next week we're going to take that trip we talked about, the family celebration for your birthday. There was no trip, no family celebration. Just a drive to Sunrise Valley Memory Care, where she'd hand over forged papers and watch them admit me. I'm looking forward to it, I lied. Me too. It'll be good for all of us. A fresh start. A fresh start. For her, maybe. Freedom from a mother she saw as an obstacle. Access to assets she'd already spent in her mind. For me, the end of freedom. The beginning of imprisonment, unless Patricia's legal protections held. That night, I called Patricia. 3 days. What if the paperwork isn't ready? It's ready. Trust is filed. Competency evaluation on record. Injunction prepared. If she shows up at Sunrise Valley with you, they'll find out very quickly those admission papers are fraudulent and you have legal representation. What if she doesn't take me there? What if she realizes I know? Then you've protected yourself from a threat that never materialized. Either way, Carol, you're safe. She can't touch you now. I wanted to believe her. But July 1st was coming, and I still didn't know exactly how Vanessa planned to get me into that facility. Didn't know if she'd try force, coercion, or simply show up with papers and expect compliance. 3 more days of pretending. 3 more days of watching my daughter prepare to destroy me. Then we'd see whose plan succeeded. July 1st, 2024, Tuesday morning, the day Vanessa had circled on her calendar. The day I was supposed to be admitted to Sunrise Valley Memory Care. I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee, and waited. She showed up at 9:30 a.m. with Jasmine. That should have been my first warning, bringing a 6-year-old to commit her grandmother to memory care, using my granddaughter as a shield against resistance. Morning, Mom. Ready for our trip? What trip? I played confused, even though Patricia and I had planned every word. The family celebration trip. Remember? We talked about it Sunday. I don't remember planning a trip. Vanessa exchanged a look with Jasmine, teaching my granddaughter that Grandma was confused, unreliable, declining, building the narrative for the next generation. That's okay, Mom. That's why I'm here to help. I packed a bag for you. Just clothes for a few days. We're going somewhere nice where you can rest. She'd packed for me, without asking, because in her mind, I was already incompetent to make decisions. Vanessa, I'm not going anywhere today. I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon. You don't have a doctor's appointment. I checked your calendar. I made it yesterday. Follow up with Dr. Morris. Her jaw tightened. This wasn't going according to plan. Mom, you're confused. There's no appointment. We're going on a trip. Terrence is meeting us there. Call Terrence. Ask him about this trip. She hesitated. Because Terrence didn't know. She hadn't told him the real plan. He thought it was actually a family birthday celebration somewhere. Not a memory care admission. Mom, please don't make this difficult. I'm trying to help you. Help me do what? Get the care you need, the support you deserve. You can't live alone anymore. It's not safe. I've been living alone for 2 years since your father died. I'm managing fine. You're not fine. You forget things. You get confused. Last week you couldn't remember what day Jasmine's recital was. I had the time wrong, not the day. There's a difference. See, you're getting defensive. That's a sign of decline, Mom, lack of awareness. I'd had enough. Vanessa, I know what you're planning. I found the papers in your car. Sunrise Valley Memory Care. Admission date today. Forged signature. $12,3 deposit paid. Her face went pale. You went through my car? Your trunk was open. I saw a folder. I looked. And I photographed everything. Mom, you're not understanding this correctly. Those papers are just options we're exploring. Options that have my forged signature on them? I had to sign on your behalf because you're not capable of making these decisions anymore. I'm perfectly capable. I had a competency evaluation 3 weeks ago. Dr. Sarah Patel. I scored within normal range, full legal capacity. The evaluation is filed with the court. Vanessa's confidence cracked. You did what? I protected myself. From you. Mom, this is paranoid behavior. You're imagining things. There's no conspiracy. I'm your daughter trying to help you. You paid $12,300 to lock me in memory care. You forged my signature on admission papers. You've been gaslighting me for 4 months, documenting every normal forgetful moment as evidence of incompetence. That's not help. That's elder abuse. I would never abuse you. You already did. Jasmine started crying. She didn't understand what was happening, just knew Grandma and Mommy were fighting. Vanessa picked her up, held her tight. Mom, if you don't come with me today, I'm going to have to take legal action. For your own safety. Go ahead. My attorney is Patricia Chen. Her number is on my refrigerator. She's expecting your call. You hired an attorney? Against your own daughter? I hired an attorney to protect myself from fraud. The fact that the fraud is from my daughter doesn't change what it is. Vanessa's phone rang. She looked at the screen, didn't answer. It rang again and again. Finally, she answered. This is Vanessa Manning. Her face changed as she listened. Yes, that's my mother. What do you mean the admission is canceled? I paid a deposit. No, she didn't call you. She's confused. She's not competent to cancel her own admission. She listened for another minute, her expression darkening. A court order? What court order? Patricia had filed an emergency injunction that morning, blocking Sunrise Valley from admitting me based on fraudulent paperwork, notifying them that I had legal representation and any attempt to admit me without my explicit, witnessed consent would be considered false imprisonment. This is ridiculous, Vanessa said into the phone. My mother has dementia. She needs memory care. I'm her daughter and I'm making healthcare decisions for her. More listening. Then, she doesn't have power of attorney, but she's incompetent. The person on the phone must have told her about my competency evaluation, about Patricia's legal filing, about the fact that I was legally capable of making my own decisions regardless of Vanessa's claims. Vanessa hung up, looked at me with something between betrayal and rage. You ruined everything. I protected myself. I was trying to help you. And you turned it into some kind of legal battle. You forged my signature. You planned to lock me away. Those are crimes, Vanessa. I'm your daughter. You're someone who committed fraud. Being my daughter doesn't change that. She put Jasmine down, pulled out her phone, started texting rapidly, probably contacting her attorney, if she had one, probably realizing that her $12,300 deposit was non-refundable and her entire plan had collapsed. Mom, I can't believe you'd do this to me. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done? You borrowed $115,000 and never paid back $1. You forged documents to imprison me. You gaslit me for months. What exactly have you done for me? I've been trying to protect you from yourself. No, you've been trying to protect your access to my money. There's a difference. She grabbed Jasmine's hand. We're leaving. But this isn't over, Mom. I'm going to fight this. You're not competent to make these decisions, and I'm going to prove it. Go ahead and try. Patricia is ready. After they left, I sat in David's chair and shook. Not from fear anymore, from relief. The confrontation I'd been dreading for 6 weeks was over. Vanessa knew I'd discovered her plan. Knew I'd protected myself. Knew she'd lost. But I also knew she'd meant what she said. This wasn't over. She'd fight back, challenge my competency, try to prove I was too confused to manage my own affairs, and that meant the real battle was just beginning. Vanessa filed her petition 3 days later, July 4th, Independence Day. The irony wasn't lost on me. While the neighborhood set off fireworks, my daughter filed paperwork trying to take away my independence permanently. Patricia called me that evening. Carol, Vanessa filed for emergency guardianship. She's claiming you're incompetent, a danger to yourself, and unable to manage your affairs. She's requesting immediate temporary guardianship pending a full hearing. Can she do that? She can file it. Doesn't mean she'll win. We have your competency evaluation, your documented financial management, evidence of her fraud. But we have to respond. And we have to respond fast. Emergency hearing is scheduled for July 12th. 8 days. 8 days to prepare to defend my right to control my own life. 8 days to prove I wasn't the confused old woman Vanessa had been painting for 4 months. What do I need to do? Live your life normally. Document everything. Keep records of bills paid, appointments kept, decisions made. I need evidence of your daily competence. And Carol, we need to address the elephant in the room. You do have MCI. Vanessa's attorney will use that. Dr. Morris said it might not progress. Might not isn't the same as won't. We need to be honest about your limitations while proving they don't make you incompetent. You forget things occasionally. You compensate with lists and calendars. That's not incompetence, that's adaptation. For the next week, I documented my life obsessively, paid my electricity bill on time, kept the receipt. Went to the grocery store, saved the itemized list, showing I'd bought appropriate food and managed the self-checkout. Attended my book club at the library, had 3 members sign a statement that I'd participated fully in discussion. Drove to my doctor's appointment without getting lost, managed my medications correctly, balanced my checkbook, called the cable company to dispute a charge and won. Every mundane task became evidence that I was functional, capable, independent. Terrence called on July 8th. Mom, what's going on? Vanessa says you're fighting guardianship. Did she tell you why? She said you're confused and refusing help, that you hired a lawyer because you don't understand what's best for you. Terrence, your sister tried to put me in memory care using forged documents. She planned to lock me away and take control of my assets. I found the papers. I protected myself. Silence on the phone. Then, forged documents? My signature on nursing home admission forms I never signed, a doctor's letter I never authorized, a $12,300 deposit I never approved. Mom, are you sure? Maybe you forgot signing them. Even Terrence, my son who'd been faithfully repaying his loan, was questioning me. That's what Vanessa's campaign had done. Made everyone doubt my memory, my perception, my reality. I'm sure, Terrence, I had a competency evaluation. I passed. I'm not incompetent. Your sister was planning to imprison me to access my money. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. Ask her about Sunrise Valley Memory Care. Ask her about the July 1st admission date. Ask her why she's fighting so hard for guardianship when I'm clearly managing my own life. She says you're not managing, that you're declining and can't see it. Then come see for yourself. Come to my house, look at my bills, my calendar, my medication organizer. See if I look like someone who needs a guardian. He came the next day, spent 2 hours going through my paperwork, saw my bank statements showing bills paid on time, saw my calendar with appointments correctly noted and kept, saw my medication organizer filled correctly for the next 2 weeks. Mom, you seem fine. That's because I am fine. I have some memory issues. I forget where I put my keys sometimes, but I'm not incompetent. Why would Vanessa do this? Because she owes me $115,000 she can't repay, because if she gets guardianship, she can sell my house, access my savings, and solve all her financial problems with my money. Terrence looked sick. She wouldn't do that. She already paid $12,300 to make it happen. She forged my signature. She built a false case of incompetence for 4 months. Those aren't the actions of a concerned daughter. Those are the actions of someone desperate for money. I don't want to believe this. I didn't either. But the evidence is in Patricia's office. Photos of forged documents, recordings of gaslighting conversations, a paper trail of financial exploitation. Your sister isn't who you think she is. The hearing on July 12th was brutal. Vanessa's attorney, a sharp woman named Jennifer Brooks, made her case efficiently. Your Honor, Mrs. Manning was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment in January 2024. Since then, her daughter has documented numerous incidents of confusion, forgetfulness, and poor judgment. Mrs. Manning forgot her granddaughter's school play, got lost in a parking lot, asked the same questions repeatedly, refused appropriate medical intervention. She also, Jennifer continued, recently made erratic financial decisions, spent over $40,000 on unnecessary legal fees based on paranoid beliefs that her daughter was trying to harm her. She's isolated herself from family, rejected reasonable help, and demonstrated the exact lack of insight that characterizes cognitive decline. Patricia stood up. Your Honor, Mrs. Manning underwent a comprehensive competency evaluation by Dr. Sarah Patel on May 18, 2024. The results show she has full legal capacity. Yes, she has MCI, but MCI doesn't equal incompetence. The incidents Miss Brooks cited, Patricia continued, are either exaggerated or mischaracterized. Mrs. Manning didn't forget her granddaughter's play. She had the time wrong. She wasn't lost in a parking lot. She parked in a different section. These are normal moments turned into evidence through selective interpretation. And the legal fees? Mrs. Manning spent that money after discovering fraudulent nursing home admission papers with her forged signature in her daughter's possession. That's not paranoia. That's self-protection. Patricia presented the photos. 13 pages of forged documents. The judge reviewed them carefully. Miss Brooks, can you explain these? Jennifer looked at Vanessa, who whispered urgently, Your Honor, those papers were preliminary explorations of care options. Mrs. Manning's confusion led her to misinterpret planning documents as something nefarious. Planning documents with her forged signature? Miss Manning signed those papers. She's forgotten due to her memory issues. Did Mrs. Manning sign these papers, or did your client forge her signature? The judge's voice was sharp. My client acted in her mother's best interest when her mother was unable to act for herself. That's not what I asked. Silence. Then Vanessa stood up. Your Honor, I was trying to help my mother. She needed care and was refusing it. I had to take steps to protect her. By forging her signature? By doing what was necessary when she couldn't see reason. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Manning, do you have anything to say? I stood up, hands steady. Your Honor, I have mild cognitive impairment. I forget things sometimes, but I'm not incompetent. I manage my home, my finances, my health care. I made the decision to hire an attorney after discovering evidence of fraud. That's not confusion. That's self-preservation. My daughter isn't concerned about my welfare. She's concerned about accessing my assets, and I'm asking the court to protect my right to live my life on my own terms. The judge made notes, reviewed documents, asked questions. After an hour, she made her ruling. Petition for emergency guardianship denied. Mrs. Manning has demonstrated legal competence. The existence of MCI doesn't justify guardianship when the alleged ward is clearly managing independently. Full hearing scheduled for September 15th to address the guardianship petition comprehensively. Vanessa's face went white. Jennifer Brooks started to object, but the judge cut her off. This hearing is adjourned. Miss Manning, your mother is competent to make her own decisions. If you have concerns about her care, you can petition again in September. But you'll need more than selective anecdotes and exaggerated incidents. I'd won. For now. Victory in court didn't mean victory in life. It meant Vanessa would fight harder. And it meant I had to pay Patricia $42,000 for legal fees I'd never planned to spend. July 15th, 3 days after the hearing, I sat at my kitchen table with bank statements spread across the surface. Before David died, we had $360,000 in savings. After loans to the kids, after 2 years of living expenses, after legal fees, I had $148,000 left. My pension was $2,850 a month. The house needed repairs I'd been deferring. New roof, $18,000. HVAC system making noises, probably another $8,000. Foundation had a crack I'd been ignoring, maybe $12,000 to fix properly. Property taxes were $4,200 a year. Insurance $1,800. Utilities averaged $320 a month. I did the math. At 61, I might live another 25 years. $148,000 divided by 25 years was $5,920 per year, or $493 per month. Added to my pension of $2,850, that was $3,343 per month total income, minus $1,350 for taxes, insurance, and utilities. Left me $1,993 per month for food, medication, car maintenance, house repairs, and everything else life required. It was tight, manageable, but tight. And that was assuming no major expenses, no health crisis, no emergency repairs beyond the ones I already knew about. Patricia called that afternoon. Carol, we need to discuss September. Vanessa's attorney requested a full hearing. They're going to bring medical experts, financial analysis, character witnesses. This could cost another $25,000 to $30,000 to defend properly. I don't have another $30,000. Then we need to talk about settlement. What if Vanessa agreed to drop the guardianship petition in exchange for certain concessions? What kind of concessions? Supervised financial oversight, regular medical checkups reported to her, a care plan she approves. Basically, she drops legal action, but you agree to let her monitor your life. No, I'm not giving her access after what she tried to do. Then we fight in September, and you'll need to find $30,000. After she hung up, I sat in David's chair and faced reality. Fighting Vanessa was going to bankrupt me. Even if I won, I'd spend my savings on legal fees. And at 61 with MCI, I couldn't afford to deplete my resources. I needed that money for the next 25 years. But I also couldn't give Vanessa oversight of my life. Couldn't let her monitor my finances after she'd tried to steal them. Couldn't reward her forgery with access to the very assets she'd tried to control through fraud. There was one solution I didn't want to consider. Sell the house. The house David and I bought in 1987 for $92,000. The house where we raised Vanessa and Terrence. The house where David died in his sleep 2 years ago. The house filled with 37 years of memories. But it was also $505,000 in equity. Enough to pay legal fees, make repairs unnecessary, and give me financial security for the rest of my life. I called a realtor on July 18th. Melissa Carter, recommended by Marie Johnson, my neighbor. She walked through the house, took notes, ran comparables. In this market, with needed repairs, I'd list at $505,000. You'll probably get offers around $480,000 to $495,000. After my commission and closing costs, you'd net about $450,000. 45万美元. Added to my remaining $148,000, that would give me $598,000. At $24,000 per year, that would last 25 years. Combined with my pension, I'd have about $4,850 per month. Comfortable, secure, no more worrying about roof repairs or HVAC systems I couldn't afford to fix. List it, I told Melissa. Terrence came over when he heard. Mom, you're selling the house? This is where we grew up. I can't afford to keep it and fight your sister in court. What if you didn't fight? What if you worked something out with Vanessa? She tried to lock me in memory care using forged documents. There's no working it out. There's either protecting myself or letting her win. Where will you live? Senior apartment. There's a nice community in East Point. 2 bedrooms, $1,350 a month, maintenance included. Close to the grocery store, library, medical offices. Everything I need. You'll be in an apartment at 61? I'll be independent at 61. That's what matters. He looked around the living room, David's chair, the fireplace mantel with our wedding photo, the kitchen where we'd had 37 years of family dinners. Mom, this is hard to watch. It's harder to live. But your sister made her choices. Now I'm making mine. The house sold in 3 weeks. Young couple, first home, paid $492,000 cash from family money. After Melissa's commission and closing costs, I netted $459,000. I moved to Sunrise Terrace Apartments in East Point on September 1st. 2 bedrooms, 980 square feet. Clean, modern, nothing like the memory care facility Vanessa had planned for me. 1 bedroom for me, 1 converted to an office where I kept David's things, his favorite books, his Postal Service awards, his coffee mug I couldn't throw away. The apartment was quiet in a way the house never was. No familiar creaks, no rooms full of memories. Just new carpet, white walls, and the sound of other people living their lives through thin walls. Marie visited the week I moved in, brought cookies, helped me unpack. How are you doing? I'm free, that's something. But you lost your home. I lost the building. The home was David, and he's been gone 2 years. She didn't argue. Just help me hang pictures, arrange furniture, make the apartment feel less temporary. The September 15th hearing never happened. With the house sold and assets secured in the trust, with my financial situation stabilized and legal fees paid, Patricia contacted Vanessa's attorney. Your client has no case anymore, Mrs. Manning passed competency evaluation, sold her house at market value through a licensed realtor, moved to appropriate senior housing, and has sufficient assets to live independently for decades. There's no basis for guardianship. Drop the petition or we'll file for sanctions based on the forged documents. Vanessa dropped it on September 10th. No hearing. No final confrontation. Just a legal filing withdrawing her petition and a terse email from Jennifer Brooks stating they were pursuing no further action. I'd won, kept my freedom, protected my assets, proved my competence. But I'd lost my home. Lost $459,000 in equity that should have been my kids' inheritance someday. Lost the physical space where David and I had built our life together. And I'd lost my relationship with Vanessa. She never called after the petition was dropped, never apologized, never acknowledged what she'd done, just disappeared from my life like I'd disappeared from hers. Terrence came by the apartment once a week, brought Jasmine monthly. His relationship with me survived, strained but intact. He'd paid off the remaining $42,000 of his loan in August, insisted on clearing the debt even though I'd offered to forgive it. Dad loaned me that money, I'm paying it back. That's what integrity looks like. His words felt like an indictment of his sister, a reminder that one of my children understood honor while the other understood only opportunity. October 2024, 3 months after the confrontation. 4 months after discovering the forged papers. I'd been living in my apartment for 5 weeks, and I was still learning what freedom at a cost felt like. Terrence visited every Sunday with Lisa. Jasmine came twice a month, usually after school on Fridays. She'd adapted quickly to Grandma's new place, didn't seem to miss the old house the way I did. Kids are resilient like that. They care about people, not buildings. "Grandma, can I have a snack?" Jasmine asked one Friday in late October, her backpack still on. "Let me see what I have." I opened the cabinet. Goldfish crackers, apple slices, juice boxes. I'd learned to keep kid-friendly food even though I lived alone. Terrence sat at my small kitchen table. "Mom, I need to tell you something about Vanessa." My stomach tightened. "What about her?" "She lost her real estate license. Couldn't pay the renewal fees. Didn't complete required continuing education. She's working retail now. Manager position at Macy's, $42,000 a year. From a real estate agent pulling $95,000 in her good years to retail management at $42,000. Consequences of burning through money she didn't have, borrowing from family she couldn't repay, gambling on investments that failed. How's Jasmine? With me and Lisa most of the time now. Vanessa's working evenings and weekends. Can't afford after-school care. We've basically become Jasmine's primary caregivers. Does Vanessa know you're telling me this? She knows. She doesn't care. Says you destroyed her life by refusing to help when she needed it. Refusing to help. That's what she called my refusal to let her lock me in memory care and steal my assets. Do you think I destroyed her life? Terrence was quiet for a moment. I think she destroyed her own life. The real estate losses weren't your fault. The loans she didn't repay weren't your fault. The forged documents definitely weren't your fault. You just refused to fund her bad decisions anymore. But you're dealing with the consequences. Taking care of Jasmine because Vanessa can't. Jasmine's my niece. I love her. It's not a burden. He paused. But yeah, it's complicated. Vanessa's my sister. Watching her struggle is hard. But what she did to you was unforgivable. November brought my 62nd birthday. Terrence and Lisa took me to dinner at a nice restaurant in Midtown. Jasmine made me a card at school, construction paper with glitter that got everywhere. Marie came over for cake afterward, brought Robert Mitchell, my old postal coworker who'd started checking in monthly. No card from Vanessa, no call, no acknowledgement that I'd turned 62 or that we'd once been a family. "Do you miss her?" Marie asked after everyone left. "I miss who I thought she was. The daughter I believed I raised. But that person never existed. The real Vanessa, the one who forged documents and planned my imprisonment, I don't miss her. That's healthy, but it must still hurt." Terrence invited me to Christmas dinner at his house. "Lisa's cooking. Her parents are coming. We want you there, Mom." "What about Vanessa?" "She's working. Macy's is busy Christmas week. She can't get the time off." I wondered if that was true or if it was an excuse. Wondered if Vanessa was avoiding family gatherings because I'd be there. Wondered if she told people her mother had abandoned her rather than admitting she'd tried to commit fraud. Christmas Day, I drove to Terrence's house, brought gifts for Jasmine and Lisa, a bottle of wine for dinner. Lisa's parents were kind, treated me like family. Jasmine opened presents with the joy only a 6-year-old can manage. Terrence carved turkey that reminded me of David's technique. It was a good day. Not the Christmas I'd imagined when David was alive, and both kids loved me, but good in its own way. Found family, chosen relationships, people who'd earned their place at the table. After dinner, Terrence pulled me aside. "Mom, I need to tell you something. Vanessa asked me for money last week. $25,000. Said she was behind on rent, facing eviction. Did you give it to her? No. I told her I couldn't enable her anymore, that she needed to figure out her own finances. She hung up on me. We haven't spoken since. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle. I'm not in the middle, Mom. I'm on your side. What she did was wrong, and I'm not funding her bad decisions any more than you are. Marie and I had coffee one Saturday morning in January. She was 69, had lost her husband 4 years ago, understood the particular loneliness of being a widow. Do you regret fighting Vanessa? She asked. I thought about it. I regret that fighting was necessary, but I don't regret protecting myself. If I hadn't fought, I'd be locked in Sunrise Valley right now. Vanessa would have sold my house, spent my savings, and I'd be sitting in memory care wondering where my life went. You lost the house anyway. I lost the building, but I chose how to lose it, sold it on my terms, moved to housing I selected, kept control of my own life. That's different than having it stolen. What about Vanessa? Do you think she'll ever apologize? No, because she doesn't think she did anything wrong. In her mind, she was helping me. The fact that her help involved forged documents and involuntary commitment doesn't matter to her. She believed she knew better than I did what I needed. That's sad. It is, but it's also reality. Some people never see their own behavior clearly, and you can't have a relationship with someone who refuses to acknowledge what they've done. February brought news from Terrence. Vanessa had moved to a cheaper apartment, enrolled Jasmine in after-school care she could barely afford, picked up a second job on weekends. She was surviving, not thriving, making minimum payments on credit cards, stretched thin financially, dealing with consequences of burning bridges and borrowing money she never repaid. She asked me to ask you for help, Terrence said during one of his Sunday visits. What kind of help? Financial. Said she's drowning and you're the only one who can help her. What did you tell her? That I wouldn't ask, that she made her choices and she has to live with them. Part of me felt guilty. I had money. She was struggling. She was my daughter. But the larger part of me knew that giving her money now would teach her that fraud has no permanent consequences. That you can forge your mother's signature, try to steal her freedom, and still expect financial support when your plan fails. Thank you for not asking. Mom, she tried to lock you in memory care. I'm not going to help her profit from failing to destroy you. Spring arrived slowly. March brought warmer weather and the anniversary of David's death. 3 years without him. 3 years of learning to be alone, then learning to protect myself from my own child, then learning to live with the consequences of that protection. I visited David's grave on March 14th. Brought flowers, sat on the grass, talked to him like I had 1,000 times over the past 3 years. Vanessa's gone. Terrence is here. Jasmine's okay. I'm okay. Not happy, but okay. You'd be proud of me for fighting. Disappointed in her for making it necessary. But proud of me. People ask me if I'm lonely. The answer is complicated. I'm alone most of the time. But I'm not lonely the way I was when Vanessa was gaslighting me, documenting my decline, planning my imprisonment. That was loneliness. Being surrounded by family who saw me as an obstacle instead of a person. Now I'm alone but seen, by Terrence who visits, by Marie who understands, by Robert who shares memories of David, by Jasmine who hugs me and calls me grandma without knowing the war that was fought to let me keep being present in her life. I'm 62 years old. I have mild cognitive impairment that may or may not progress. I live in a 980 square foot apartment instead of the house where I raised my children. I spent $42,000 in legal fees defending my right to exist independently. I lost one child to her own greed and kept one child through his integrity. This isn't the life I planned, but it's the life I chose when the alternative was imprisonment. And choice, even when it costs everything, is still freedom. That is Carol Manning's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community, especially those who understand the impossible choices that come with aging parents, cognitive decline, and family betrayal. Real question: if you were Carol, would you have fought back, spent $42,000 in legal fees, and sold your home of 37 years to protect your freedom? Or would you have tried to work something out with Vanessa, maybe given her some oversight to avoid the legal battle? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you think about the cost of self-protection. Share it if you know someone navigating cognitive decline, whether as the person diagnosed or the family member watching it happen, someone who's had to choose between accepting help and maintaining independence. And subscribe for more real stories about aging, family betrayal, elder abuse, and the complicated reality of loving people who see you as an obstacle instead of a person. Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. Sometimes the people you raised become the people you have to protect yourself from. Sometimes freedom costs everything you built. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set boundaries so firm they feel like walls, because the alternative is imprisonment disguised as care. Did Carol make the right decision? I don't know, but I know she made her own decision, and at 62 with mild cognitive impairment, that's what mattered most. See you in the next video.